Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to Pa's Garden Journal. And as I do our journal entry for this week, we're in the midst of a lot of things going on. We're still very busy, but we're going to look at three things today: planting, picking, and pulling. So today, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but today we're going to be doing planting, taking a look at planting that sweet potatoes. We mentioned those earlier in one of the videos, I think. And we're going to get that done today and get that put in these boxes so we can get started with that. The other thing we're going to be doing is looking at the picking that's going on right now, as we're having to pick green beans, we're having to pick tomatoes, we're having to pick squash still, and we're also started picking blueberries. So those things we're going to look at just briefly. Not going to be a long drawn out thing on that because it's kind of self-explanatory. And if you did see my other videos, I had one about picking the snap beans, and I've also had one about picking the squash, those two products. So take a look at those if you haven't seen those. But we're going to be taking a look at that just briefly today to kind of tie it all together. And here's where we are. And after that, we're going to be looking at pulling and pulling up some stuff. So I'm going to let you take a look at that as we go along. Now I've already got the slips that's been in water. They've actually taken off and doing pretty well. They've been in there for about a week now. But I got those in the mail, and these variety we're going to use this year are Puerto Rico, P-O-R-T-O, not Puerto Rico like the country, but Puerto Rico, a variety, and they are a bush variety, and they don't put out huge runners 15 and 20 feet long like traditional sweet potatoes do. So I'm using this variety because putting them in those boxes, and we'll see how they do. Guys, like we were saying, we're going to plant some sweet potatoes, and the way I've got this thing figured out, we're going to try to put in 3 sweet potato plants to a box. So I'm going to put kind of like one in the middle here, and then we'll go from there. But I just yank that down and dig a hole. And it pulls right out of there. And set that down in there. And there we go. That'll take care of that one. So if I can get another one to let go. And we'll do the same thing with it. There you go. I see little runners on those roots coming out all over the place already. Let me scoot down a little further. I don't know if you can see that or not, but doing the same thing over and over. That one doesn't look too healthy on the top side, but it's got a good root system. So maybe it'll take off and go. And that's it. I'm going to do this 1, 2, 3 more times, and I'll have 12 of these plants in the ground and or in these boxes, and we'll keep an eye on them for the year and see how they do. Hopefully they'll be ready for harvest in about 100 days. So somewhere around October, maybe. Well, that was interesting, quick and brief. But now that we've got the sweet potatoes planted in those boxes, now we're going to take a look at another part of that 3 Ps, and that's the picking. And here's how we do that. One of the things we haven't talked too much about is my tomatoes. You can see right here with these big boy tomatoes, they are at the top of this 5-foot trellis. They're also being affected by this heat. You can see how the bottom pieces of them look like they're dead and dying out. These things have really not done well this year at all. I've got some green tomatoes on there finally. As we walk down through here, you can see them. But not too many of these things are getting very ripe. And now I'm worried that the heat is just going to do us in. Now, what is good are doing well are these Romas across the aisle. They're not nearly as tall as those big boys, but just look at the tomatoes that are on these vines. And they've weighted them over where I didn't get them all tied up to the trellis, and they're just breaking them over. But tomatoes are still doing well. So we're gonna just tough it out, see what we get on this tomato crop. And that's gonna be some good picking here in the next few days. Starting to get some of these now, and so I think they're gonna do real well for us. And these will go, probably most of them will go into the freezer. Well, time for blueberries. Now, I like blueberries, but they sure are harder to pick than, say, squash, for example. But here we got all the blueberry bushes have got blueberries on them. Check it out right here. And we're working our way down this morning for our first picking of this year's blueberries. And we'll be going on down the row here. You see out before us. We got 3 more bushes down on the other side over there, and that little break in the middle. So we'll be working on that for the next 30 minutes. Well, now that we've looked at how we picking all this stuff and all the things we're having to pick right now, certainly the squash has been the biggest thing we've had to do, and now we're wrapping that up. Today we're going to be pulling up that first bed of squash. They're finished, so let's take a look at having that done right here. I'm out here today and taking a look at this first bed of squash. It's done really well, and here we are up in the 90s every day. You see how it's turning yellow. I've also got squash vine borers. You can see that trunk right there coming out of the ground. Here's another one coming out of the ground. So yeah, they're about done for. In fact, they are done for. And you can see right here, this one is totally wilted. And I'm in the process today of pulling these up, and I'm harvesting whatever fruit is there. I see some on a few of them. And all this, except for those stems down there, but all the leaves and everything like that will go out in the compost pile. The rest of it I'll just haul out to the back pasture in my junk pile and throw it away. Well guys, that's another big time here at the garden. This stuff is ongoing every day. I'm out here doing some of those things that we just looked at. So I just wanted to kind of catch up on that. We're going to be looking at more detail on some of the other things that's coming up here next week or so, to keep you going with me what's going on for this summer. And but right now we're just kind of going to wrap it up for this one, and we'll head to that porch swing like I always do. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you later.